Before the first heartbeat, before the first cry, there is a silence older than time itself, the stillness of the soul, waiting in the vast expanse between worlds. According to Edgar Cayce, this moment, the interval between lifetimes, is not random, nor is birth a mere biological event. It is chosen. Every parent, every family, every circumstance, even the time and place of birth, are threads woven into a divine pattern by the soul itself, guided by higher intelligences who oversee the unfolding of karma, purpose, and love. Cayce's readings revealed something extraordinary. Before entering a new life, each soul stands before the Council of Light, a group of exalted beings who help it review past incarnations and future possibilities. In this sacred review, the soul does not judge itself harshly, but rather sees with perfect clarity what remains unlearned, what vibrations of love, forgiveness, courage, or humility still wait to be completed. From that vision, a plan begins to form. A life is chosen not for comfort, but for growth. Parents are not random figures in a genetic equation. They are spiritual mirrors, each carrying lessons the soul must encounter to evolve. A strict father may help the soul master patience. A nurturing mother may remind it of divine compassion. Sometimes the roles reverse. The soul may choose to be born into pain, into poverty, or even into conflict, because in that darkness lies the very experience it once denied others. Cayce said, "The entity chooses those through whom it may gain the best lessons, those souls it has loved, hated, hurt, or healed before. This means that family ties stretch across centuries. We are born again and again with the same souls, shifting roles like actors in a grand cosmic play. Today's son might have once been a mother, a rival may return as a sibling, and those who feel like instant connections, the ones we meet and simply know, are echoes of those eternal bonds reawakened. It is not fate that binds us, it is love and unfinished understanding." Cayce taught that even before conception, the soul hovers near its chosen parents. Sensing their energies, their joys, their fears, it waits for the right moment, when the alignment of time, emotion, and cosmic rhythm allows its entry into matter. And when that spark ignites, when the soul merges with the forming body, a sacred contract begins once more. Before the veil of birth falls, every soul works from what Cayce called the Book of Remembrance, a living record of every thought, act, and intention it has ever carried. This is not a book of punishment, but of pattern, a radiant field of energy showing where the soul has grown bright with understanding, and where shadows still remain. From this record, the next chapter of life begins to take shape, not through command, but through resonance, a kind of divine magnetism that draws the soul toward the parents, the environment, and even the nation that will best allow it to face its unfinished lessons. Cayce described it like this: "The vibrations of a soul find their counterpart in the vibrations of those who will become its parents." In other words, a child is not chosen at random, nor are parents given a soul without meaning. There is a subtle call and response between both. The parents emit a spiritual tone, born of their own hopes, fears, desires, and karma. And somewhere in the higher realms, a soul hears that tone and feels its heart stir. Sometimes that call is conscious. A couple longing deeply for a child sends out waves of yearning that ripple into the unseen, but often the call is unconscious. Two lives crossing paths because a third energy, unseen but ancient, has already linked them. Cayce said souls can wait years, even decades, until the exact vibration they need appears on Earth. Only then will they descend into form. And what determines that vibration? It is not wealth or status or nationality. It is the inner emotional and spiritual climate of the home, the unspoken truths, the inherited wounds, the opportunities for growth that lie waiting there. A soul that seeks to heal abandonment may be drawn to a family marked by distance. A soul that longs to master humility might choose parents who value status and control. Another, desiring to express compassion, may enter a home fractured by pain. Because only through such contrast can love prove itself real. Before birth, this entire design is reviewed with guides, luminous beings Cayce called the record keepers, or the companions of the soul. Together, they map the probable courses of life. They see the crossroads where choice will matter, the hearts that will help or hinder, and the moments when divine memory will whisper through intuition or dream. And though the plan is detailed, it is never fixed. Free will remains sovereign. Cayce insisted, the pattern is given, the will directs. The soul chooses parents and circumstances, but once born it must walk its own path, reawakening what it already knew beyond the veil. There is, too, a deeper mystery. Sometimes parents and child exchange promises long before meeting on earth. A mother may have been a daughter before. A child may have vowed to return to help a parent find peace. These covenants are felt, not remembered, which is why some bonds in life seem instantly sacred, while others carry unspoken heaviness. Every reunion serves evolution. Every challenge serves awakening. And so before the soul descends, it looks upon the chosen family, not with judgment or fear, but with quiet knowing. It understands what must be healed, what must be learned, and what must be loved. And in that sacred recognition, it whispers the most ancient promise of all. I will go again, and this time I will remember. Once the soul has chosen its parents and agreed to the karmic framework of its next life, a sacred process begins. One so subtle that few can grasp its magnificence. Edgar Cayce described this as the soul's descent through the spheres, a gradual lowering of vibration as pure spirit prepares to merge with matter. In the higher realms, the soul still shines as energy, radiant, unbound, carrying memories of countless lifetimes. But to enter Earth's density, it must pass through what Cayce called veils of forgetfulness. Each veil dims awareness of the infinite and attunes the soul to the limitations of time, gravity, and form. This is not punishment, but protection. If the full brilliance of spirit entered the body at once, the fragile human vessel could not contain it. The soul does not simply fall into the womb, it hovers, observes, and attunes. Cayce's readings revealed that many souls remain near their destined parents for months, even years, before conception. They linger in the aura of the mother, drawn by her thoughts and emotions. Her joy strengthens the connection, her fears can delay it. When the soul senses that conditions are aligned, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, the merging begins. Cayce explained that the soul's full entrance usually occurs between the 3rd and 4th month of pregnancy. Before that, the forming body is guided by a divine intelligence, the spirit of life, that shapes organs, tissues, and rhythms according to cosmic design. When the soul finally unites with this growing form, it does so through the energy centers that Cayce later identified as the seals or chakras. Through these gateways, consciousness weaves itself into flesh. This moment is not random. The soul, together with its guides, chooses the astrological and energetic pattern of birth, the exact moment when planetary vibrations best reflect its new purpose. The stars incline, Cayce said. They do not compel. They are not fate, but mirrors, showing what tools the soul has chosen to work with this time around. And then, as the merging deepens, something miraculous happens. Dual awareness begins. The soul, still partly awake in spirit, now feels the rhythm of a beating heart that is not its own. It senses warmth, fluid, and sound, the faint pulse of life inside another being. Some souls feel comfort and peace, others disorientation, especially if they carry unresolved pain from past incarnations. But all experience awe, the profound mystery of being enclosed once more in form. The mother's emotions become the soul's first lessons. Her laughter, her fears, her love, all ripple through the developing consciousness. Cayce said that what a mother thinks and feels is written upon the soul of the unborn child, not as memory, but as vibration. This is why spiritual traditions long before Cayce spoke of prenatal influence, the shaping of a child's temperament before the first breath is ever taken. And yet, through all of this, the soul still remembers, faintly, the light. It still dreams of the place it came from. Some linger at the border, reluctant to forget. Others rush forward, eager for the challenge. Each carries a spark of divine purpose, whispered before descent, to learn, to serve, to awaken. By the time of birth, the soul's consciousness has mostly withdrawn from the higher planes, resting gently within the body. Only a thread, a silken line of divine memory, remains, connecting it to its true home. Cayce said that this thread can never be broken. It is the reason, even in our darkest moments, we sometimes feel a quiet knowing, a memory of having come from love and of being destined to return to it. The journey into the womb is therefore not the loss of the soul's divinity. It is its courageous act of remembrance through limitation. To enter flesh is to choose forgetting, so that love may be rediscovered and God experienced not as theory but as life itself. The moment of birth is not merely a biological event, it is a spiritual explosion. Edgar Cayce described it as the instant when eternity meets time. After months of gradual descent, the soul suddenly awakens in a rush of sensation, light, sound, pressure, cold. The world that was once soft and fluid now feels heavy and loud. For the first time, spirit tastes limitation. That first cry of the newborn is far more than reflex. Cayce said it is the soul's declaration of entry, the moment when divine breath animates matter. With that gasp of air, the spirit fuses completely with the physical body, anchoring consciousness into every cell. The lungs open, the heart adjusts its rhythm, and energy spirals through the nervous system. The body is now alive with the soul's current. Yet in that same instant, something is lost: memory. The luminous recollection of where it came from fades behind the veil. The soul, once aware of galaxies and angels, now finds itself bound to a tiny form, unable to speak or understand. This forgetfulness is both gift and test. It allows the new human to grow freely, to rediscover divinity through experience rather than recollection. Cayce taught that the early days of life are filled with subtle guidance from higher planes. Guardian spirits, including the soul's own guides, remain near. They whisper impressions that the infant cannot yet interpret but still feels: the sense of safety when a mother holds her child, the quiet peace that settles after crying, the light seen in dreams. These are the echoes of the realm the soul just left. Even the first interactions with parents carry sacred meaning. The way a mother gazes at her child is not random. Cayce said that her eyes often become the mirror through which the soul first remembers love. The father's touch may awaken echoes of divine protection. Each gesture, each tone of voice reinforces the truth that the soul is not alone. But not all births are gentle. Cayce acknowledged that trauma at birth, physical or emotional, can imprint lasting spiritual patterns. Souls who enter under stress may struggle to feel safe in the world, carrying subconscious memories of being torn from the warmth of divine unity. Yet, he emphasized, even this pain has purpose. Every experience, pleasant or hard, is chosen by the soul for its growth. As days turn into months, the veil thickens. The infant's awareness becomes increasingly absorbed in the senses: the taste of milk, the sound of a heartbeat, the texture of skin. The cosmic memories recede like dreams at dawn. But deep within, in what Cayce called the secret chambers of the soul, those memories remain alive, waiting for moments of stillness, beauty, or love to reawaken them later in life. And yet, even as the soul fully takes root in this new body, something in it always looks upward. A faint homesickness lingers, and not sadness but remembrance. It is the silent ache behind human longing, the inner compass that forever points toward the light of God. The first breath begins the greatest adventure a soul can know: to bring heaven into matter, to find eternity again through the fleeting, and to live as a bridge between the worlds. As the soul settles deeper into its human form, childhood becomes a sacred time of subtle remembrance. Edgar Cayce often said that the first 7 years are the most spiritual period of a lifetime, a window when the veil between heaven and earth is still thin. The child may not recall past lives consciously, but traces of them appear, in instincts, fears, and fascinations that seem to arise from nowhere. A little boy who speaks of distant lands he has never seen, a girl who has a natural gift for music or healing, a child who fears water without reason, All, Cayce explained, are echoes of experiences from before. The soul, he said, never truly forgets. It simply translates memory into symbol and tendency. The purpose of childhood is not only growth, but integration, to blend the eternal memory of the soul with the lessons of this new world. During this stage, the soul's guides continue to work closely. Cayce described guardian angels as teachers in light, who impress upon the young heart feelings rather than words. A sudden comfort in moments of fear, an inexplicable joy while watching sunlight dance on water, or a deep empathy for suffering, all are ways the soul's higher companions remind it of its divine purpose. The role of parents is central in this divine arrangement. Cayce taught that parents are not chosen by accident. They are the first instruments of divine influence. The tone of their voices, the way they handle stress, their ability to love or forgive, all these become part of the soul's early spiritual training. In each household, God arranges a miniature classroom for the soul's unfolding. Even imperfect parents serve the plan, providing the exact lessons the soul needs to evolve. Children often sense this sacred link. Some feel drawn to one parent more than the other, not from favoritism, but resonance. The parent with whom they share more karmic connection may bring comfort or conflict, depending on the unfinished work from past incarnations. Cayce saw this as divine precision, not punishment. The souls you meet in family are the mirrors through which you remember who you are. Imagination plays an extraordinary role too. Cayce called it the language of the soul. Through play, dreams, and stories, children rehearse patterns from before. A child who builds endlessly with blocks may once have been an architect. One who heals imaginary friends may be recalling lifetimes of service. These small expressions are not random. They are whispers of purpose. But as the child grows, reason begins to overtake wonder. The world teaches boundaries, rules, and labels. The divine memory fades, replaced by the structures of survival. Yet the spiritual imprint remains dormant, waiting for moments later in life when it will be reawakened, through love, crisis, or awakening. Cayce often urged parents and teachers to nurture this hidden wisdom rather than suppress it. Let the child dream, he said, for in dreams, the soul remembers the pattern it came to fulfill. Encouraging kindness, curiosity, and prayer helps the young soul remain connected to its source, even as it learns to walk among the shadows of the world. By the end of childhood, the soul stands at the threshold of forgetfulness and purpose. The angels who guided its first steps begin to step back, allowing free will to take root. Yet their presence never vanishes. Every intuition, every moment of quiet wonder is still their voice whispering, "Remember why you came." As the soul moves from childhood into adolescence and adulthood, the quiet spiritual guidance that once surrounded it begins to shift. According to Edgar Cayce, this is the stage where the divine plan meets free will, the point at which the soul must begin to remember through experience. The angels and guides that once whispered now observe in silence, allowing the human personality to take command. Yet every decision, every crossroad, still echoes the soul's original blueprint. Cayce described life as a series of tests of alignment. Each soul, he said, enters with a purpose designed around both growth and redemption. Some are born to learn patience, others to master compassion, humility, or courage. These lessons are not arbitrary. They correspond exactly to what the soul failed or only partially achieved in past incarnations. The people, places, and events that emerge around us are not coincidences. They are carefully woven threads in a pattern set long before birth. But even the most divinely planned life depends on choice. The soul may design the stage, but the actor decides how the story unfolds. This is why, Cayce explained, no fate is ever truly sealed. When we meet someone who frustrates or challenges us deeply, we are not victims of chance but participants in a healing contract. Each reaction we give either reinforces an old wound or transforms it into wisdom. This is the sacred law of cause and effect, or as Cayce put it, every thought, every act, every emotion builds upon the soul's eternal record. The Akashic records, the cosmic memory bank of all souls, continuously records our evolving state. These records don't judge, they simply reflect. When a soul chooses love where once it chose resentment, the entire frequency of its being changes. When it repeats anger or selfishness, the lesson remains for another round. Cayce emphasized that even the smallest act of kindness or forgiveness carries immense spiritual weight. No deed is lost, he said. Every seed sown in spirit will one day bloom in the soul. The universe, in his view, operates not on punishment, but on perfect balance. Every pain, every joy, every encounter is the soul calling itself back into harmony with divine law. Throughout life, the soul's purpose gently resurfaces, often during moments of crisis, grief, or awakening. A failed relationship, a loss, a sudden illness, these are not random tragedies, but reminders. They pull the soul back toward what it came to learn. Many who experience these turning points report a strange familiarity, as if something ancient inside them whispers, "You've been here before. Don't run this time." Cayce taught that prayer and meditation are the most direct ways to realign with the soul's original plan. When you turn inward, he said, you knock upon the door of your own remembrance. In stillness, one can sense the presence of guides, angels, and even fragments of the soul's own higher self, watching, waiting, encouraging. But perhaps Cayce's most remarkable insight was this: even when we stray from our path, even when we make choices that seem to lead us astray, the soul never truly fails. Every mistake becomes raw material for enlightenment. Every detour still leads home. The divine plan expands with us, endlessly patient, endlessly forgiving. By the time adulthood reaches its midpoint, the soul stands again at a threshold, not of birth or childhood this time, but of awakening. The question becomes no longer, why did I come here? But, am I living what I came for? According to Edgar Cayce, there comes a quiet, unmistakable turning point in every life, a moment when the soul begins to remember. It may come after years of striving, heartache, or success, but the signs are always the same. A deep restlessness, an inner call that says there is something more. Cayce called this the awakening of purpose, the instant when the soul's higher consciousness begins to shine through the noise of earthly living. In his readings, Cayce explained that this awakening rarely comes in comfort. It often arrives through loss, betrayal, or the collapse of something the ego once held dear. These moments are not punishments, they are awakenings disguised as endings. When the outer world falls apart, the inner world begins to speak, and it whispers the same truth every time. You are not your job, your body, your title, or your pain. You are a soul in progress. Many of Cayce's clients asked him, why must suffering come before understanding? His answer was both simple and profound. Because the heart must be broken open for the light to enter. He believed that through grief and humility, the soul recalls its true nature. These moments strip away illusion and reconnect the person to their divine purpose, the very purpose chosen before birth, often forgotten amid the distractions of material life. The awakening may come through meditation, a dream, a meeting with a stranger, or even a line in a book, but when it comes, everything changes. A person begins to feel guided again, sensing invisible hands leading them toward old promises, the lessons they once pledged to complete. They begin to see their parents, their children, even their hardships as sacred companions rather than random events. Life no longer feels like chaos. It begins to reveal its divine geometry. Cayce described this recognition as the soul's turning back toward the light. Once it begins, the entire vibration of the individual shifts. Old habits lose their pull. Material ambitions fade in importance. Compassion awakens, not as a moral duty, but as a natural expression of who we truly are. The soul, now remembering itself, begins to live from love rather than fear. This is also when the higher self, the eternal aspect of consciousness, begins to guide more directly. In dreams and quiet moments, people start sensing clear direction or uncanny coincidences aligning their path. They may meet mentors or partners who act as catalysts, helping them fulfill parts of their blueprint that were waiting for activation. Cayce said, when the soul remembers, life conspires to support it. But awakening is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of a conscious one. Once awake, the soul must act upon its knowledge. Every thought, every word becomes a tool of creation or destruction. The individual learns that the same divine energy that made the stars also flows through their own choices. To live in harmony with that truth is the essence of spiritual maturity. Cayce often reminded his listeners, "You are gods in the making," not as a claim of superiority, but as a call to responsibility. Each awakened soul becomes a light for others, still wandering. Family members may change, children may learn. Entire generations can evolve from the example of one person who remembers who they are. The awakening, then, is contagious. The light that dawns within one heart spreads through words, kindness, forgiveness, and presence. It ripples outward through time, even beyond the boundaries of a single lifetime. For in Cayce's vision, every act of love, however small, echoes across incarnations, shaping the evolution of all souls. And so the question remains, once we awaken to our soul's purpose, how do we live it fully, as not in theory but in the moments of daily life? How do we carry divine awareness into human experience without losing our balance between heaven and earth? In Edgar Cayce's view, awakening to one's purpose is only the beginning of the real spiritual journey. The moment a soul remembers who it truly is, life takes on a sacred gravity, because awareness brings responsibility. Cayce often said, "The purpose of life is not to escape the world, but to transform it." Once awakened, a soul must begin to live what it knows, to embody divine truth through simple, conscious action. Cayce explained that each person carries a divine blueprint, a unique design etched into the soul long before birth. This blueprint isn't about wealth, fame, or even success. It's about growth, contribution, and alignment with the Creator's will. When a soul begins living in harmony with that inner design, everything changes. Relationships soften, decisions gain clarity, and even the body responds with renewed vitality. Life flows not because it is easy, but because it is guided. But Cayce also warned that awakening comes with trials. Old patterns don't dissolve without resistance. The ego fears the loss of control, and the world often misunderstands those who live from spirit. Yet every challenge serves to refine the awakened one, testing their faith, patience, and compassion. The soul learns to see beyond appearances, to recognize divine order even in chaos. This ability to hold inner peace in outer storms is one of the highest signs of spiritual maturity. For those who asked how to live their purpose, Cayce offered simple but profound counsel. Do what you know to do, and the next step will be shown. He reminded seekers that purpose is rarely found in grand gestures. It reveals itself in kindness, forgiveness, and service to others. A word of encouragement, an act of compassion, a choice to love instead of judge. These are the quiet ways a soul fulfills its blueprint on earth. Cayce taught that service is the bridge between heaven and earth. Every act of selfless giving harmonizes the lower self with the divine vibration. When a person lives to uplift others, their aura brightens, their spirit strengthens, and they draw closer to the source. He said, "The soul grows by giving, not by taking." This truth, he claimed, is written into the laws of the universe itself. And when such a life is complete, when love has been expressed, lessons learned, and balance restored, the soul leaves the body not in fear, but in peace. Cayce described that moment as one of quiet recognition. The soul feels the presence of God not as a distant force, but as the very essence of its being. It realizes that all the pain, confusion, and longing of earthly life were simply the Creator's way of bringing it home. In that return, the soul sees clearly. Every sorrow had meaning, every joy had purpose, every meeting was divine. The grand design that once seemed hidden is now fully illuminated. The soul rejoices, for it has remembered, not just who it is, but why it came. Cayce's final message on this subject was timeless. You are co-creators with God. As you think, you create. As you love, you heal. As you serve, you awaken others. For the awakened soul, this is the ultimate realization that heaven is not only a destination, but a state of being that begins here, now, with each conscious choice made in love. Every sunrise becomes a chance to create light. Every encounter becomes an opportunity to express divinity. Every breath, a whisper from the soul reminding you that you are eternal, a spark of God on a human journey home.